Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a Rogue Warlock build for in Baldur's Gate 3. Now this is actually a pretty interesting class because there's darkness from the Warlock that pairs well with our Rogue abilities with sneak attack, and I want to show you something pretty cool here. So we're going to actually start off with the Warlock because the Warlock has an easier start and Pact of the Blade will give us 2 attacks early on, so that I think is the best way to go about starting. If you start as a rogue, like let's say you're level 12, you can start with a rogue to get extra proficiencies. So that's another bonus, is the rogue start has extra proficiencies that you wouldn't get at starting with a warlock. So if you're at level 12 already, start with the rogue, but we're going to start with the warlock for the purposes of this build because we're just going to assume that you're starting from scratch. Eldritch Blast, by far the best cantrip in the game. I really like Minor Illusion too, but you can take Friends if you're the face of the party. The reason Minor Illusion is so great is it groups enemies together. Also, you can use Minor Illusion to grab enemy or to get enemies out of our building, and then you can go in and sneak attack. So this works really well with our build. Now for the subclass, I usually like the Fiend because the Fiend gives us some pretty good spells, but we're not going to be using our spells for blasting. We want the great old one, the GOO. Because, mortal reminder, when you land a critical hit against a creature, the creature and any nearby enemies must succeed a wisdom saving throw or they become frightened until the end of their next turn. That's pretty good, because as a rogue, we're going to be hitting lots of critical hits, so we want to, make benefit of that. We also get Dissonant Whispers and Tasha's Hideous Laughter from there, which is kind of a great couple spells there, but I think Hellish Rebuke is a good one to go with, so you can take off Tasha's. I would leave on Dissonant Whispers, because the Frightened ability is really great early on, and Hex has a little bit of usage. You can do Hex Wisdom to cause people to be less likely to find you if you're stealthing, but yes, Hex is not as good as as it seems. As for the ability score, this is a multi-attribute dependent build, so we are going to be needing a little bit more of a focus on some different stats, so we're going to take down our intelligence and wisdom. Charisma is actually going to be a very important stat for us, because once we get Pact of the Blade, then we can use our charisma modifier to do damage with. So that's obviously something we want. Now we still do want high dexterity, because this is going to contribute to our armor class, as well as it's just good to have high dexterity for initiative purposes. As a rogue, we want to go first. I would put the rest of the points into Constitution. If you have the Constitution Amulet in Act 3, then you can dump this and you can easily spread out your stats between the rest of them as something like this. So I'm going to be using the Constitution Amulet, but otherwise you could use that previously shown ability makeup. And we'd want to have a little bit higher wisdom just for ability to see stealth enemies. So this build is really interesting because we're going to be making use of a couple things that make both of these classes great. Now, the Eldritch Invocations here are pretty powerful. I think that going with Armor of Agathis is a pretty good choice because this gives us temporary health, and if we get attacked, it'll deal cold damage back to the attacker, which is really nice. Hex is okay. Arms of Hadar prevents the target from using reactions, which can be pretty useful too, but Agonizing Blast will add our charisma modifier to the damage that we're dealing. So once we get our charisma up to +5, it's extra +5 to Eldritch Blast. And Repelling Blast pushes a creature up to 4.5 meters away from us. Now, we don't have to go full levels in the Warlock to get the increased beams from the Eldritch Blast. Eldritch Blast will give us 3 beams once we get up to level 11, so that's really nice. Now, for our level 2 spells, there's some great synergy here. So, Hold Person is probably the best of them here. So, there's a concentration, holds an enemy still, they can't act, move, or react. Attacks within 3 meters are always critical hits. We like critical hits because we strike fear in them whenever we have a critical, so we're going to go with that there. Misty Step is another great choice, but for the purposes of this build, I think it's best to go with the Hold Person first. But Crown of Madness and Enthrall do have some benefits, as well as Mirror Image to +9 to armor class. Now, for our Pact boon, we're going to go Pact of the Blade, summon a Pact weapon, or bind the one you're wielding, making it magical. So we can use our spellcasting modifier, which is Charisma, which is right now higher, but doesn't really make much of a difference. We get a +3 to our attack rolls here, so that's really nice. I also rolled a Drow, so we get Fairy Fire, so attack rolls against will have advantage, and then we also get Darkness at level 5, which is pretty nice, although we will be getting Darkness through other means. So level 4, we get ourselves a cantrip, and we also get a feat. So Mage Hand is a pretty good one. I like Mage Hand just for utility, but also Bone Chill can be good if you have a target that's going to be healing themselves. There's some ones in Act 3 that actually benefit a lot from this, but we'll take Mage Hand. And then for our next spell, I would say Misty Step is a good solid option. Crown of Madness can be decent, but I do think that the Misty Step is the best. A lot of people always comment on my videos saying Cloud of Daggers is the best level 2 spell. It's okay, 44 slashing damage, which can be easily resisted later on. Misty Step, survivability, that's huge. Mirror Image is also kind of the same thing. Darkness, we also want Darkness, that's the thing. So I guess we'll take Darkness here, because we are going to be using this. Create a Dark Shroud that heavily obscures and blinds creatures within. Creatures cannot make ranged attacks in or out of it, so we can use this to kind of circumvent a lot of things that we're going to be dealing with later on. Now, for our ability score improvement, I would recommend taking a Hag's Hair to increase this to 18, and then we'll get this up to 20, which will give us a +5 to charisma checks. So just pretend that we're using the Hag's Hair here. That's probably the most optimal usage of this. Now, level 5, this is when we get our Deepened Pact, which gives us the extra attack. So now we get extra attacks, just like everyone else. As a Warlock, that's great. For our spells, we do get some level 3 spells, which are awesome. Like Hunger of Hadar is one of the most fun to use. Creatures within this black sphere are blinded and take damage at the end of turn at the start of their turn. Pretty good, but I think that we actually want to take Fear. As targets drop everything, become fearful. They have a disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls. The reason that I would say Fear is because we're actually going to be using a ring here that's very effective. The Band of the Mystic Scoundrel. So after hitting a creature with a weapon attack, you can cast an illusion or enchantment spell as a bonus action. So that's really huge. We can attack twice, and then we get to use our illusion spells. So we can cast Fear on someone, which does require concentration. But what's nice about Fear is it makes the target drop their weapon. So you get a free weapon, but then they're useless because they'll just be punching you. So we definitely want to go with that. Some people like Counterspell, but we don't have enough spell slots to really utilize that. I'd rather a Sorcerer or a Wizard do that. Misty Step is really nice, but we can't really roll with that. And then also here at level 5, we get Devil's Sight. So we see in Darkness, both magical and non-magical, up to 24 meters. So we get a really good usage of our Darkness now, because we can now see in it. And yeah, we have bonus attack, and we got a nice illusion spell there. And then we also get Darkness from our racial traits, so that's the benefit of a drow, even though this drow just looks like an elf. Now, for level 6, we can get Entropic Ward, but I think it's actually best to go into the Rogue here. So then we jump into the Rogue, we get ourselves a sneak attack, so deal extra damage to a foe you have advantage against, and you can do a ranged one. For the ability scores, I think it's good to go with Stealth. To have double proficiency in Stealth, as that gives us the better chance of not getting seen. And then also, like, Athletics is good for prevents you from being shoved. Same thing as Acrobatics, so we could go with that, but I do think Stealth is kind of the one that we want to definitely put our proficiencies into. So that's that for the first level of Rogue. Now we also, at level 2, get our Cunning Actions, Dash, Disengage, and Hide, which is really nice. Now there's another big choice to make here at level 3. We can go with the Thief, which will give us another bonus action. Although we're not a bonus action is always nice. We're not super heavily, we require a bonus action. The Assassin, however, you're deadliest against unprepared enemies. You have advantage on attack rolls against creatures that haven't taken a turn yet. So at the start of combat, we'll have advantage on attack rolls, meaning we're less likely to miss. Any attack roll against a surprised creature is a critical hit, and then we benefit by inflicting fear on them as well. And we also restore action and bonus action at the start of combat. Some people are asking what this means, and it actually, so if you attack at the start of combat and you don't have this, you lose your action. This refreshes your action, so you can stealth it up, attack, and then you got your action back. So Thief or Assassin are great choices. I think that the Assassin just brings more to the table, so we're going to go with that. And then at level 4, we get ourselves another feat, so you can take your Dexterity up to 18. We're going to pretend the Charisma is up to +5 there. There are some other options, like you can go with like a moderately armored, which would only increase our Dexterity by 1, but it'll give us medium armor, and the Armor of Agility works fantastic with this build, because the Armor of Agility is 17 armor class plus your Dexterity modifier. We're actually just going to take Ability Improvement and bring up our Dexterity to 18. The reason being, this is going to increase our armor class and our initiative. We want to be going first because we're going to have advantage on targets that haven't taken a turn yet. And while we're using our Charisma for our attack rolls, it's still a good thing to have a high Dexterity for the survivability's sake. Now, Uncanny Dodge, when an attack hits you, you only take half the usual damage. Level 5 is pretty good for the Rogue. Now, there's two other options that we can go with here. So, if you want medium armor, take Fighter. This is going to give us our medium armor, It doesn't give us heavy armor if we take it halfway through, but if you really want, you can start with the fighter for 2 levels because you get Constitution saving throw proficiency and heavy armor. We also get martial weapons, which is really nice. Another option is we can go with the Barbarian, because the Barbarian is going to give us unarmored defense. So if we're going with the clothing version of this build, so depends what kind of armor you want. You can also go with the, if you take 2 more levels in Rogue, you're going to get the ability to get Uncanny Dodge, which is going to half the damage from spells, and then you have a chance to roll and get missed by the spell altogether. But I guess there's 3 ways. Fighter for a medium armor and martial weapons. Take the Barbarian to get ourselves, it should be giving us medium armor there, but odd. And then also if we add in the 2 more levels of Rogue, we get Uncanny Dodge. But the unarmored defense is pretty good as your Constitution modifier to armor class. I'm going to show you why that's so good in a minute. And then we can also go with the another level in here to get ourselves Reckless Attack. Until your next turn, you have advantage on attack rolls, but enemies have advantage on you. Danger Sense, you have advantage on Dexterity saving throws against spells, traps, and surfaces. This is okay. This will give us 55 health. You can alternatively add in another level of Warlock to get the, as a reaction, you can impose disadvantage on attack rolls against you. If attack misses, you gain advantage on your next attack roll. And this could be a really good option as well, because then we could take Hunger of Hadar, which is a pretty good, it does require concentration. We do have a few that have concentration, so you can take this, or Misty Step, or Mirror Image. And then also even Enthrall and Crown of Madness can be cast as a bonus action, so those are really good as well. But I think for the purposes of this, we might just go with Misty Step, take the Warlock to get the Entropic Ward, and then, yeah, that's a pretty solid mix. Now, getting into the gear side of things and how we want to play this, so we're obviously going to want to have our Bind Pact weapon, and that allows us to use our Charisma, so +5 from that. And then I would also recommend having 2 hand crossbows. They're just very effective, especially the Hellfire hand crossbow, because this gives you the ability to possibly inflict burning when hitting a target while hiding or invisible. And then this one will deal initial 1d4 piercing damage to burning targets. So if you get up close, attack with Blade of the First Blood, and you get the disadvantage on, or give them vulnerability to piercing damage, which will double it. This will actually go up to 1d8, or 2d4, I guess, doubles the damage of piercing, and both of these are piercing. All of our damage is piercing. Now, the Birthright Hat would take our Charisma modifier to 22, was Hag's hair. So the Charisma modifier at 22 gives us a +6 to Charisma, and then also to our hit chance, and then all of our spell attack rolls are going to be based off of that. Cloak of Protection, we got ourselves a nice 26 armor class, which is surprising because we're just wearing clothing. And if we want to go and actually min-max this, we get the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation on. I'm not sure why that's not changing. This is a +1 armor class. Oh, there we go. So that'll give us a 27 armor class, which is even better. And then whenever you succeed a saving throw against a spell, 1 to 4 health. And you can make an unarmed strike. We're not going unarmed with this, but any of the other clothing options gives a +2 are kind of good here. So even the Cloak of the Weave can be an option as well. And the Armor of Agility would have been nice if we had medium armor proficiencies, but we don't for the purposes of this build. But we can even go with the Helldusk armor, and that's still not as good as taking just like a clothing option. So yeah, I think that it's best to go with this here. And then the Bracers of Defense will give you a +2 to armor class when you're not wearing armor or holding a shield, so that gives us even further defense. But alternatively, we can go with Helldust to give us increased fire damage, or the Gloves of the Balanced Hand to add our ability modifier to the offhand damage. But it's nice just to have an increased armor class, and also we have the ability to dodge a lot of attacks, so that's great. Evasive Shoes for +1 armor class. I like the Ring of Protection for +1 armor class. And then the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel, after hitting a creature with a weapon attack, you know the drill. We get to cast, with a bonus action, our Illusion and Enchantment spells. We got Fear, we got Hold Person. So that's 2 incredibly powerful spells right there. Even Tasha's Hideous Laughter we got as an option too for being able to cast as a bonus action. Now that's where the Thief can actually come in handy, is being able to cast with bonus action. You only can do it 1 time, but if you want to also cast and then hide, that could be an option. But I think that this build works pretty decently. It's not the best build in the entire game. I think that the better uses of the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel is actually to take the Bard and pair it with a Fighter or a Paladin, 2 levels, 10 levels Bard. That's really great. I have a build on that on my channel. But yeah, what this build does well is you can cast darkness, and then with darkness, you can still see inside of it, and then you're pretty much, you can see that's pretty successful for hiding, and you can go around stabbing people there. Also a nice thing is you can also use, if you have the ability to use bonus actions from your illithid abilities, that can further complement this build. But the Eldritch Blast, being able to do 3 beams of that's really nice to have a ranged option, but we can also go with our bow attacks. Cutting actions, great for bonus action use, but being able to hide in your own darkness and go hard with that is pretty cool. We somehow failed our... I'm not sure how, but yeah, we got some pretty powerful sneak attacks that we got there, and this build is not too bad overall. Misty Step to get away, we can attack and then hold person. Now we only have the ability to hold person on 2 targets there, which is, it's just fair, but fear is pretty good too, because you can, as you can see there, fear is like cone of cold. It hits a big area, and what's nice about fear is it makes the target drop their weapon. We can grab it, and then they're useless. So yeah, this build, while it's not the absolute best build in the entire game, it's still pretty good. So yeah, that is a Rogue Warlock build for Baldur's Gate 3. If you found this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.